Hi everybody, Miss Camay here. I am your host on the Miss Camay Show, and I'm broadcasting live today from the fabulous entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. I've changed my look a little bit. I've got my glasses on today because I have a very important guest that I'm interviewing, and I want to make sure that, you know, my studious and my student mentality is on point. So we've got the glasses. I hope I look a little smarter today. I want to welcome Nikki Larchar to the show. Welcome to the Miss Camay Show, Nikki.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited about our interview today. You and I both share a very, very important platform. You are a workplace harassment prevention trainer and speaker. You are also the author of the comic book, Define the Line, and co-founder of Define the Line, which is a company that is on a mission to eliminate workplace harassment by empowering, big key word there, by empowering employees to speak up for themselves and each other. Very important point there, and each other. So talk to us about who you are, how you came to fall in love with this platform.
Yeah, the great question. So hi everyone, I'm Nikki Larchar. Like Miss Camay mentioned, I'm co-founder of Define the Line, and we really are on a mission to eliminate workplace harassment once and for all. And the way that we're doing that is really revolutionizing the way that we train employees on this particular topic and focusing on empowering individuals to speak up for themselves and each other, because we believe that is such a vital piece that's missing from most sexual harassment training that's out there today. We are HR professionals, me and my business partner, Tina. We landed on this project because on one day we had 3 clients that reached out. This was prior to the Me Too movement. They were all dealing with harassment in their workplaces and how to deal with it. And so we were feeling a little stressed, a little emotionally bogged down. So we went to happy hour after work, and Define the Line was really sparked from the conversations that we had. And we were kind of sitting around some other entrepreneurs that we know. We were talking about sexual harassment training and also the harassing behavior that we all had experienced in our career. And the common thread was that we all didn't know what to do, what to say, or what actions we could take. And so we came up with a comic book idea. It actually started out as a coloring book. And then we were like, well, people can be a little too creative. And with the topic of harassment, we did not need some extra creativity in that space. But we wanted to kind of revitalize this stale training. A lot of people have gone through those videos, or sometimes it's like an online click through modules, take some quizzes, and we really wanted to give it new life. And so we started doing research on different ways that we could do training, and we just fell in love with the comic book idea because we thought we could show real characters, we could base the scenarios off of real stories, and we could integrate some work that we could do after each time that we're reading through a scenario, have time for the reader to reflect on, okay, how would I handle a similar situation if it was happening to me, if I saw it, if a friend told me about it. And so that's kind of why we decided to do this.
Yeah. You bring up a very good point because, you talk about harassment, sexual harassment in the workplace. My platform is bullying in the workplace. And in both scenarios, we're talking about a power imbalance, right? And we're talking about people in positions of authority, or people in positions of power, and how they, manipulate and abuse those positions of authority or power. And oftentimes the bystander, which, several platforms don't necessarily address the bystander, but oftentimes the bystander is just as emotionally effective, just as traumatized by witnessing the harassment, or knowing that the harassment is going on or the bullying is going on in the workplace, because they're afraid that it's going to happen to them. And they see what's happening, to a coworker, And so when you're talking with a bystander who's actually a witness, you know, I work in law, so it's all about witnesses and evidence, right? So when you have a bystander who's actually witnessed what you have gone through in any scenario, it is extremely powerful. It validates what's going on. It gives your, you know, I guess, complaint credibility, because you now have a bystander who is courageous enough to speak out and talk about how they experience it and what they see, because they need to talk about it as well. They can suffer mental health challenges as well, just seeing it, that it's going on, or watching it going on. So with our current climate, with what is going on, you know, around the world today, it's not just in our country, but around the world today, we're seeing this power imbalance. We're seeing an abuse of power. We're seeing the manipulation of people in positions of authority and positions of power, and how that is infringed, you know, onto others, other peers, you know, other races, just so many different scenarios. And right now today, you know, the topic that we're talking about, those details are important, but the root of it, like the deep down root of what is going on, is classic bullying behavior, abuse of power and abuse of authority. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that is a great topic. You know, I think we could sit here and probably talk for hours and hours, Miss Camay. I know we could on this particular topic, but I think it's so important that, you know, companies and organizations look at what are they putting in place for accountability, because you're right, power does increase the likelihood for harassing behavior, whether that's a manager, whether that's the CEO, and everywhere in between. So what are we doing as far as a company and a corporation to really put measures forth? And so when we're not in leadership roles, though, how can we affect change in those areas? And I think we've seen a lot of movement with employees really rallying together to say, okay, we don't feel like we can do something right here, right now, because this leader is stopping us, or is preventing us, or is harassing us, or is discriminating against us. And so really, employees are now banding together and rallying to create that change. And really, I think the important part is that we have leaders that are going to take action. And I think it's also important to think of, you know, when we do have leadership that is bullying or is harassing, is there other leaders in that building that you could have a conversation with, that could be an ally to you to help you with the situation? Because it can sometimes feel like we're going up against a wall, like there's nothing that we can do, right? So I think it's really important that we band together, either with a coworker. I oftentimes talk about, you know, mentorship and finding others in your organization that are at that leadership role, because that's going to be, you know, who you can lean on in those situations to say, we've got this issue, and as an employee, I don't feel like I have a voice, but you as a leader can do something. So how can you help us do something?
You talk about engaging your audience with interactive activities and discussions to spark meaningful conversations. So is that kind of along the lines, you know, and the foundation, I guess, of your platform and your business?
Yes, I think something that we saw that was just missing, or, you know, reflecting now, I'm 33 years old, and I reflect back to my early 20s when I experienced the most harassing behavior. And it was learning through those moments to prepare me for the moments now in my life. Now I can speak up for myself. Now I know what resources are available. Now I have the knowledge to say that's not okay, and I know what I can do about it. But that was learned from experience. And so what we've tried to do, what we've tried to do to define the line is, how do we give that knowledge that took a decade for me to get to, how do we give that to people now, before? So when you're in your 20s, so a lot of what we do when we do on-site training, or even now we're doing webinars, is we say, what would you do in this situation? What are the words that you would say? Because the words I would say are different than the words that you're going to say in the moment.
Sure.
What are the actions you're going to take? Those are going to be different, whether it's happening to you or you're a bystander. So yeah, we've integrated those interactive and really introspective activities so that people can think about this from the perspective of what would I do? And then something that just happened from it, which we didn't expect, is individuals who have never experienced harassment are now opening up their minds to how this could potentially feel if it happened to me. And that has been some of the most uplifting aspects that we've seen, is really changing somebody who came in kind of grumpy, didn't want to do sexual harassment training, and they walk away going, oh, I never thought of it this way. Like, I've just never even taken a moment to think, if this were to happen to me or someone I care about, how would I react or what would I do?
Yeah, yeah. I was chatting with a girlfriend of mine this morning, really talking in detail about some of our recent events in the country. And she was saying, to me, she was comparing, a estranged family member to George Floyd. And, she was saying, I have this estranged family member. I don't care about this person. They don't care about me, but we share the same last name. And, she watched the George Floyd funeral yesterday and, sobbed the whole thing and went through, a box of tissue. The empathy, the compassion, the sadness, the heartbreak that she experienced. She's never met the person. She just knows a very small fragment of his story. And so when we put people in those scenarios, and it's challenging to talk about it for them to really get it, but when we can kind of create that environment or create that scenario and really give these people an idea of what it really would feel like, or what they would really honestly do in that situation, it's a shift. There's a difference for them, because they now are looking at it from, an internal perspective. Like, well, how would I feel if, that person said that to me? Or how would I feel if that person, did that to me at my job? And so do you believe that through the work that you're doing, through the conversations that you're having, that it's effective, that is an effective method in eradicating harassment and bullying out of the workplace?
I would love to put the stamp on there that says we are 100% backed, and we can show you all of the data and the reports that show that that's the case. I will say, we've, from our perspective and what we've kind of highlighted as a company and what we're trying to do, is to provide people with confidence. So we do track confidence levels from the beginning. So before they go through our training, how confident are you speaking up for yourself? How confident are you speaking up if a manager or somebody in your leadership were to do something? And how confident do you feel speaking up for somebody else? Because all three of those could be different depending on who you are.
Yeah.
So we have seen some great movements from the beginning of our course. Confidence levels are usually pretty medium to low grade. We obviously have our stellar students who've already done the work, and they're at 10s. They're like, oh, I will just tell anybody how it is whenever I need to. I wish I was that way earlier in my career. But yeah, so we've seen growth in the confidence levels, and to us, that is exactly what we want to see. As much as I'd like to say that we are preventing harassment, from the approach that we're taking, we just didn't know how to do that with the tools that we had in our toolbox, but we knew that we could at least provide people with that empowerment, with confidence to say, okay, next time something happens, like, I can give feedback to my coworker, I can give feedback to my manager, I can report this to HR, because now I know that HR is there for that reason.
Yeah. I was consulting with a client yesterday on his behalf, and it involves some criminal legal advocacy for this particular client. And I got on the phone, and I have extensive legal experience. I'm not a lawyer, but I am a 17-year veteran in the industry. And I certainly have grown in my experience personally and professionally. And my conversation with a young lady at the public defender's office, the feedback that my client received was, oh my gosh, she's so rude. And my client apologized on my behalf. And so I said to him, don't you ever apologize on my behalf, first and foremost. And secondly, you know, she has a duty, her office has a duty and a responsibility. Yes, you know, what you did was wrong. And yes, you know, this office is representing you, but that is exactly what they're doing, is representing you and your best interests. So she thinks I'm rude. That's her experience of me. And I told him 99% of the people that meet me, especially in those scenarios, they're going to be extremely uncomfortable with my courage and my assertiveness and the way that I speak to them, because I am confident in what I'm addressing. And I am speaking up on behalf of my client. I'm giving my client a voice. And the lesson to the client was, you're ashamed of this. This is not something that you're proud of. This is something of your past. You know, we're dealing with an issue that is several, you know, almost 10 years old. And, you know, yes, you don't want to stand on the street corner and talk about, you know, what had happened. However, they owe you a duty. They owe you a responsibility, and you have to demand that they treat you the way that you deserve to be treated, you know, and giving you proper legal representation. So in my work and, you know, and now in chatting with you, that's a challenge. It's a challenge when you're dealing with someone who's been sexually harassed or who's been bullied in the workplace, to teach them that. It's almost like you want to, you know, do mouth to mouth resuscitation on them and blow it into their spirit, right? Because like you said, you've learned from experience. You now have the courage to speak up for yourself. You now have the courage, you know, to use your voice. And so many people just don't have it. And, you know, each situation is different, you know, whether someone's feeling shame or embarrassment, or if they feel like it's their fault or they deserve it. People need to understand, and I really want my guests who are watching this interview, if you are experiencing being harassed in the workplace or bullied in the workplace or lack of legal representation, you are valuable and you are worth more than you can imagine what you're worth. And when you start believing that, when you identify with your value and how much you're worth, your courage, your resiliency will build. So focus on that. Would you agree? You're an HR professional. Would you agree that plays a major role?
Oh, most certainly. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
The way that we view ourselves, right, is oftentimes what we're willing to kind of, and obviously also societal norms are going to kind of tell us that behavior or that's okay for us to be treated that way. And I would 100% agree, like, no one deserves to be harassed ever.
Right.
And I will continue to say that to my dying day, to my dying breath.
Yes, exactly. So, gosh, there's so many things about you that I, you know, could highlight. And like you said, we could be in this interview for an hour or more, right? You've done a lot of, or you've been featured nationally in media. You've been on in Workforce Magazine, HR Dive, and HR Bartender. And so talk to me a little bit about that. Let's have some fun. You know, when you're in the media and you're kind of the face of your company and, you know, you're being interviewed and, you know, you're really speaking to, you know, what you're passionate about. So how does the media play into that? What does that do for you? Do you get excited? Do you love it? You know, like, what does it do for you? Because I know what it does for me.
Well, I will say it makes me sweat profusely. I'm not sweat. I might be sweating now. No, I absolutely love, obviously, talking about our mission I love partnering with the media too, because I think that's such an in anybody's life or business, to get your voice out there. Media is such a great way to do it, and really finding people that are going to share your message, I think is really important. And especially in spaces like sexual harassment, like bullying, there's so much that's out there, and there are going to be as many articles as you are featured, not you featured in, but people that are advocates are featured in. There are going to be just as many articles that would counteract what you're doing. So I think media is such a great way, and I've loved all of the wonderful people that have reached out to us who want to feature us. Of course, I always say yes, and then the sweat starts, and then I'm like, okay, you got this, Nikki, just deep breaths, you got it.
Yeah, it's like the butterflies and the excitement and the adrenaline all together, and it just comes out in sweat, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like when I speak in front of people, I'm like, hey, I don't know, my body is telling me that I should just run, but my soul is like, you have to be here and you have to tell this message.
Yeah, exactly. A little background secret about me that not many people know. When I was young in elementary school, I played the violin. And I was extremely good at it. I actually never read music. I learned to play music by listening, and was actually very well advanced in my class. But after every concert, after every performance, I would like run off the stage and go straight to the bathroom to vomit because of the nerves and the butterflies. And it's, my mom felt horrible. She was like, oh my gosh, you poor thing, because it was such an excitement. And so like, the band, the concert, but right after, like literally, like the last note played and I'm off to throw up. So I get it. You have some virtual training coming up on June 17th. And you're going to be hosting an interactive virtual training session on sexual harassment prevention. So talk to our audience a little bit about that. If any special offer you might have for Miss Camay, the Miss Camay Show fans. Tell us about your training you have coming up. So exciting.
Yeah. So it has been, I would say, just a fun experience to change something that we do in person to virtual. First and foremost, I was kind of anti-virtual training because I'm all about seeing people in the flesh. I know. And now I kind of like it more. So our trainings, as I mentioned before, are always been and will always be interactive. So we're having a conversation and we're creating a vulnerable space for us to all show up just as we are with our stories, to share those and to help one another really just think through sexual harassment. So of course we go over what is it. So we go over definitions. That's kind of the boring part, but it's good foundation. And then we jump right into like, okay, so how does it actually show up in the workplace? Because in the media, I see, sexual assault, which is classified as harassment when it happens in the workplace, but then that's a legal thing anyway. So we really, I'm like, Miss Camay can talk to you all about that. So we go over, okay, how does that really show up? Like right now in this moment, what we're hearing is, it's text messages, it's people saying inappropriate things on your social media accounts. It's things like now, because I am in this virtual space, you might see my significant other walk behind me. And now you have content for your harassing behavior. So things like that. We go over how in this moment is harassment still showing up in our workplaces, even though a lot of us have gone virtual. And yeah, so I'm so excited because I want to offer everybody who's watching here a free ticket to the virtual training on the 17th. You can go. Yeah.
Only special for Miss Camay Show viewers. Only for us.
Yes. So it's on Eventbrite. We can tag it into this, I think, live feed, or we can send it out. But you'll use Miss Camay as the discount code, and I would love to have you there to learn more about harassment, how you can speak up, and how you can speak up for others, because I think that's such a vital thing that we can each do to help build cultures that we want in our workplaces.
Yeah. So June 17th, right? Next week.
Yeah.
What time?
I should probably know this. I'm pretty sure it's 3 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay, 3 p.m. Eastern time. So for those of you watching, we will post the link to the Eventbrite below in the comments with the discount code as well, Miss Camay. So for those of you who would like to join, I encourage you. Even if you've never been harassed or you've never been bullied in the workplace, I encourage you to attend the Eventbrite virtual presentation with Nikki. Educate yourself. You know, knowledge is power. And in today's current climate and the things that we're seeing going on, we have to educate ourselves. And we can't always rely on, as you said, we can't always rely on the media to educate us correctly, because for every, you know, correct media interview or media article, there's going to be something that will contradict it, right? And so creating change in our legal system, in our legislative world, we have to draft legislation. To change the laws in our country, we have to draft proposed legislation that has to be lobbied to our county and city and state political leaders, and then eventually our federal leaders, you know, on the federal level. Proposed legislation has to be pitched in a sense. And once the proposed legislation is considered, once they take it from you, they change it. They could invite you to, you know, to come and speak, city council, city commissioners, your state governors, your state senators. They could potentially bring you to speak on the topic and share your opinion and your viewpoint about it. However, they have the ultimate final say about the legislation and what they adopt into law. So in my message to you guys today, if you want to create change in your city and in your state, you need to partner with legal professionals who understand how to draft proposed legislation. I can give you guys an example. I have a few. And you have got to start to lobby your platform, the proposed legislation. So I would definitely love to be a resource for any of you that are interested in that. I can definitely guide you in the right way. I am not a lawyer, so I cannot advise you on the proposed legislation, but I can definitely show you what that looks like and how you can actually draft it. So in closing, Nikki, if somebody that's watching our interview that has been harassed in the workplace or is being harassed in the workplace or has seen someone else being harassed in the workplace, what is your message to them today?
Yes. My message to you is, one, know your resources. So first and foremost, I want you to look at the EEOC.gov. EEOC.gov, that is our entity on a federal level that provides protections for employees against harassment. So that's a great resource, a great stopping point. I would also say that I am here as a resource. I will personally, if you have something going on pro bono, I will just have a conversation to talk about what are your next steps. Let's talk about what you can do and how I can help you get there. And that could just be brainstorming next steps or potentially giving you resources as far as what do you have on a state or federal level that you could reach out to. I also would say that there are so many great people in our organizations, and sometimes if we are experiencing harassment, it just takes being vulnerable enough to tell somebody and to have accountability. If you have an HR department within your organization, they should be advocates for their employees. That's not always the case, unfortunately, but we've got a lot of HR folks that are doing a lot of great things. And also, I think that you should also, look at, what resources are out there just on the internet. Obviously, you could do a Google search. There are so many great people that are advocates and allies in this space that are doing incredible things. So I would just implore you to really look at all of your options and not to just say, in this moment, I'm experiencing harassment and it's not a good environment. And instead, okay, what can we do and rally together? And I'm here for you if you want me to be a partner in that.
And so how can they directly connect with you? Obviously, they can reach out to me and I can connect them directly to you. But how can they connect with you? Where can they find you at, Nikki?
Yeah, so if you visit definethelinecomic.com, so define the line comic, like a comic book.com, that's all of our contact information there. My email address is on the website, and you can feel free to contact me there or even on LinkedIn. I love connecting with people. I'm the only Nikki Larchar in existence, so you were able to find me.
Great, wonderful. Thank you so much, Nikki. Thank you for taking time out of your day today to join me on this platform and talk about what you're doing. Very excited about your virtual learning next week. You can definitely count on seeing me there for sure. Again, you guys, we will post the link to that Eventbrite interactive presentation that Nikki's going to be doing next week, also with the discount code. Be sure to connect with her, reach out to her. She is a tool for you. She is a resource. She is definitely somebody that I will partner with, and in my consulting business will definitely direct clients that need your particular services your way. Thank you so much for joining me. I so appreciate you. We are connected now for life. We will always be connected. And please, please utilize me in your business as a resource as well. I would love to help you and help the clients that you're helping in the work that you do. So much. Great. So grateful for you. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Thank you, Miss Camay. This has been so great.
You're welcome. We'll see you next week for sure.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Right. Bye.
Bye.